Why should the public be involved in science?
Oh, for many different reasons, and actually, why not is maybe the question we should ask. Of course you should be engaged in your future.
But how can we interest the public to get involved and engaged?
I think it's all about thresholds and making sure that the relevance is there. So making basically it's visible why you should be involved, what's in it for you, and how important it is for you personally. That's the way.
Public engagement of what we talked about today is one way to kind of really bring researchers and the public together and kind of talking about what really drives them. I think it's all about kind of individual connections between research and science.
What's the conclusions from Science Barometer 2018?
I think one of the main things we find out that when it comes to trusting science and research, it's all about the kind of the motives people think scientists and researchers are having. They are not really doubting the expertise or the integrity of researchers, but it's kind of for us the conclusion that we have to communicate more about the motives and what drives science and researchers.
There's a very strong support for public involvement in research, and there's a moderately strong interest in personal involvement in research, and this interest would extend throughout the research process. It's not merely about collecting data, but also giving opinion on what methods to use, what topics to pursue, also to some extent contribute to funding of research.
Well, we think for that research to be really impactful, the public has to be involved. They need to be able to use the research, they need to be able to understand the research, they need to be able to actually input to the research to make sure that the research we're doing is of interest and is useful to what people care about. But also, we as a research institution have a social contract with the public and with society, that if we're not accountable to the public and we don't have a sense of responsibility, then it's going to be harder for us to get our work done. People aren't going to trust us, they're not going to value our work. So that relationship is really important to us. I think we have to start with the public's interests. You know, we can't assume that just because I'm working on this particular molecule or this particular protein or this particular process, the public is going to be inherently interested. You have to understand, well, how's this of interest to their lives? You know, maybe they're interested in their children's welfare in terms of air pollution. So maybe they'll be interested if you talk about it in terms of monitoring air quality. Maybe they'll be interested because they studied a particular disease at school or a particular, type of physics process at school, and it reminds them of their interests when they were young. But you have to ask the question first. You have to say, well, how does this fit into their lives? Everyone's busy, everyone's got jobs, they've got families. So making it relevant to them is, I think, the first thing that we have to do as scientists.